Time for a Buick update. So what's been going on? More brake problems is what's been going on. After I got the brake shoes replaced, a couple weeks later, or a week later, whatever it was, I took it out and got to the end of the block and almost went through the intersection. Yeah, it didn't want to stop, and the reason why was the brake fluid was low. The reason the brake fluid was low was because the idiots that worked on it didn't realize that one or more wheel cylinders were leaking. So I had the Camry again, the old 87 Camry, and got all 4 wheel cylinders replaced. So now there shouldn't be any more brake issues. So that's one good thing. I had to modify the repair I did of the heater vacuum hose. The blue hose that's there, see, the problem I was having was that little black adapter piece that I plugged into the existing hose on the car that caused the existing hose to split again. So that hose's days are well done. Fortunately, this blue tubing is surgical tubing and it's tapered. It's thicker at that end than it is at the other. So I was able to shove the hose from the car into it. I just put a cable tie on it to make it stay, you know. And the other end was small enough that it fit right on the actuator there. So that was kind of neat. It actually works, which is nice. And I don't have to worry about it falling off. Does it look pretty? Is it original? No, but it works. And also, I was going to replace the thermostat, which is buried right at the end of this hose here. I was going to replace the thermostat, and I went over to my dad, and we were going to do that together. There's 2 bolts. There's one right through the wires there at the top of it, and the other one is down in the abyss. And the problem is there's 2 hose clamps for this hose and this smaller one right here, and they were kind of in the way, and it was really tough to get a wrench on it, but we managed to get a wrench on there. The problem was loosening that bolt at the bottom. As I was unscrewing it, it just didn't feel right. It felt very tight, even though it was backing out. It just felt very tight and not good at all. It so seems I went to the top bolt and that wasn't even finger tight. That was loose. And I was wondering if that's what caused the little puddle there. Now I don't know if you can see, there's a little white reflection. Unfortunately, it didn't seem to solve that. It is entirely possible that the gasket is bad. I figured I'd throw a thermostat in there while I was in it, you know, because it's a pain in the dick, so I did that. But I have the gasket and thermostat, just haven't gotten around to changing it yet. I was going to see how this goes, but it didn't look like it solved that problem. It may not, even with a new gasket. I don't know if that's exactly where it's leaking from. There's also oil in here which sprays up onto, I don't know if you can see the shininess on here and everywhere else. And I think it's leaking out of the distributor here. That's just a guess on that. I don't know for certain. I forget if I mentioned, I did find the thermistor, I'm sorry, not the thermistor, the temperature sensor, which is this thing right here with the black connector on it that goes right into the water jacket. It's right there on top. Interestingly enough, if I kind of wiggle that around while the key's on and it's hot, the gauge moves, so it's not making a great connection, but it does work. I've never had it fluctuate or do anything weird at all. It always worked right. The oil pressure sender is something I have not been able to locate on this car yet. I've looked, I haven't really been underneath it to see. If anybody knows on the 430 engine where the oil pressure sender may be, I would like to change that. And one other thing we changed was the fuel filter. Now, I'm not going to bother taking the air cleaner off to show you, but it's at the end of this hose with the clamp on it right here, which was the repair that was done to repair Sal's repair of the fuel line that either broke or whatever. Anyways, taking that out, we had the flare wrench and everything there. The problem was it was tightened down so tight that the head of it was a bit buggered up, and we didn't do it. Fortunately, we were able to get it out, and we replaced it. Here's the old one. I don't know if you could see with the glare, but there's definitely crap in it. You see it there? It looked dirty. I don't know when it was ever changed. I'm sure it was changed at one point or another, but it looked dirty, so I changed that. It seems to run a little bit better for what it's worth, so we replaced that. And that's really it. Otherwise, it starts, it drives, it goes, it does its thing. So it's been holding up. Oh, one other thing I just realized. The guy who did the windshield happened to have two knobs that he claimed were period correct for this car. They look almost identical, and what I was going to do was put these orange ones in the back, take the blue ones from the back and put them in the front, because I have basically two broken handles there. But look what I got. This was out of my old Chevy Citation that was in 1981. So from 1960s to 1980s, 20 years, all that changed was almost nothing. They're a little bit different in length. The design here with the ribs on it are a little bit different than that, but a casual passerby probably would never know the difference, except to see that the handles are black or orange as opposed to blue. Like I said, basically a whole lot of nothing, yet something has been going on with the Buick. If anybody can tell me where the oil pressure sender is on the 430, I'd appreciate it. If anybody knows, once again, what this little doohickey here is for, that is attached to the throttle linkage over there, and that is supposed to be a switch. I have two possible things that it could be. One is an AC compressor cutout at full throttle, and the other is a transmission kickdown to second gear. But it does seem very strange to me why in the 1960s they would possibly think to do that electrically rather than with a cable. But obviously there is no cable that I can tell. So if anybody can confirm and or deny any of those, I'd appreciate that. And if anybody knows where that puddle in there is possibly coming from, I don't see any fresh leakage from this area, which it definitely was leaking before. Maybe that's just other stuff that dripped off. I don't know. If I mop it up, it eventually comes back. And I'm definitely losing coolant. It's not a lot, per se, but it's just enough. And another interesting thing, see, right now it's right up to where it should be, but usually this is down about an inch or so. And in fact, it's getting air in it now, and it's gurgling down. I don't know if you can see. So it usually sits just a bit low, maybe about an inch low, and it never really goes much lower than that. Sometimes when it's filled to the brim, if I go on a long trip, I'll see drippage from there. That is only dripping now because there was coolant right up to the overflow, and back in these days, they just dumped it on the ground. We weren't concerned about EPA or anything like that. So that's it. Just wanted to give you an update on the Buick. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, and take care. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.